correction down there. We'll just use the smudge tool to fix the little bit of area when I was painting it where I've missed it. If you're doing a textured background, you'd go through and probably use a mask layer instead. These little artifacts here, they're a part of one of the apps that I like to cheat with and run through, one of the enhancements. I've picked up a little method for enhancing manually, which I did with this when it was on black and white, because I wanted to make some of the tonings come out and the shadows around the nose area. So when I added the skin textures, it would stand out more. And that is just simply duplicate your layer, and then you can just go through and you can actually change that layer to something else, like burn, which will do a lot of enhancements. Now, of course, I've got the skin layers on it, so this isn't going to work entirely well. That will give you an idea anyway. So by doing that, you can actually enhance the existing image, and you can see the lines around the nose and that. So if you've got a bad image and you aren't running it through an enhancement app and you're doing it manually, you can create multiple layers. You can change it using normal. You can turn down the opacity, and using the filters that run through it, like burn in, which has it always has that nice pop running it. You can run it through and actually enhance the image that way. And then of course you have to go through and do the cleanup, because I'm actually think this is quite nice. I might hang on to this and run a new image. So we're onto the smudge brush, and we have the opacity rather low. I find if it's below 30 you barely see the movement. Anything above 45 it's a fairly harsh push. And then the hardness I always leave around about 60, pretty much with everything, because I just go over it little bit by little bit. So we're just going to come through and just push in and push out. Small corrections. I think that's what takes the longest, is the small corrections, which is why I love the Android apps and cheating. I don't pay for the apps. I think, what is it, Remimi? I'm not too sure on how it's pronounced, the REMINI app, I think that's right, is free for 5 uses a day. So you do all your work, you go through and you'd, with this one, when it was black and white, I went through and I created the enhanced layers, so I created multiple layers. And I did those burn-ins and the semi-transparent layers. And then on the base layer, I went through and I cleaned it all up first before I created the multiple layers. So I smoothed out the skin textures and blended it through. And you do as much work as possible, and then you'd run it through the one of the enhancement apps. So transfer it to your phone, tablet, whatever. Windows 11 will actually have Android app support, which will be fantastic. It'll be quite a game changer. So then, yeah, you just run it through the app, and then you put it back across to your PC, and that helps make it faster with enhancing the image and doing more. That would probably take weeks, or if you don't have the skill to do. Okay. And then with the eyes with this one, when I ran it through the enhancement, the original eyes were black. There was no eyes really there. So I cheated and I ran it through I think it was through the Remimi app. But what I did is I made the eyes blue, because her eyes are apparently blue. And then I ran it through the app, which said, hey, there's eyes here, but they've got no details, and it automatically filled it in. That saved me having to go in and get a PNG realistic eye and incorporate it. If you're using a PNG realistic eye, you want to create a layer behind your background layer, so behind this layer down here. And then what you want to do is you want to go through and actually erase the eye, and then you want to put the realistic eye behind it, and then you want to blend it in. Okay. With this one, when it did it, still had a little bit of a glitch, and it buggered up that eye there. So I created an eye layer, I copied this eye, I brought it over to the other side, I did some texturing around the outside here just to bring it together, and that was the end result. I could probably fix up that white as well. Might create a new layer there, since I can't find where this is pulling it from. I'm just going to go, I want to keep those textures, so I'll just go like that, copy, I'll pull that behind the eye. Oh. Let me rephrase that, I want to copy from here, copy, paste. This will create a new layer as soon as I turn it anyway. Okay. Get into that position where I'm happy with it. Delete that one. It's this layer. Push it in. Blendy, blendy, blendy. Push it down. Mix it around. Just little clicks. And the reason I release it is because I want those slight movements. I don't want a massive... If you hold it, it just sort of makes a mess. So if you're doing the releases, I find it works a bit better. Some of that darkness coming through from the previous. Okay, bring it down there. Some of that darkness coming through. That's a bit of a shadow. There we go. That's better. Okay. Before, after, before, after. Okay. And where were we? That background layer just going through, pushing in. So back to a larger size. I mean, you can take forever doing an image restoration. I've only been doing it for a couple of weeks. I started 2-3 weeks ago. I've had Paintshop Pro for a long time because I used to make items for The Sims 3 under the username Mickey's with double S. And I would cheat and I would walk around the house and take photos of things like the sink plug and of the bottles the shampoo was in, and when I made something like a shower and I had to do the 3D mesh texture wrap, I'd actually use the real photos. I did the plant packs, which is still in The Sims 4. I contacted EA way back and was curious if they were looking for people to work on it, and their response was no, they got plenty of people. And when The Sims 4 came out, I went in and had a look at their texture pack, and I noticed with their plants they were my meshings and textures from what it looked like, but that was fine because I had it up for free anyway, and it was something the game sorely missed. I used real textures, went out, took pictures of plants, and meshed it and wrapped it. And coming into a couple of weeks ago, deciding that I wanted to find a bit of a hobby, and finding the apps, I thought, okay, well, you know, I'll use the apps. They're not good by themselves. They cause distortion, as anyone that's tried it has probably seen. You get those horrible lines like I was cleaning up earlier, and you get them on the skin as well, where you have to go through and fix it. And I thought, okay, we'll put it over to Paintshop Pro, and I did all the cleaning and put it back and forth across, and I found a balance between using the two. And the result was what you're looking at here, clean, crisp pictures. Adding in little imperfections, like freckles throughout the area and little marks, just to sort of break up the image a little bit. So, and you can do that pretty much with anything. You can come in, you can dump, and you can just pull a colour out of the skin where it's a little bit darker, and just create a small little dot, and just add an imperfection, and just create a layer of imperfections. So, on smudge again, come over, add a little dot, go through, mess that dot up a little bit so it sort of doesn't resemble one another. No skin is perfect. See, little freckles and little moles and things like that, and just add the little imperfections in. You just do a layer of it, which can be time consuming. Face app, you can go through and actually click freckles and cheat and throw freckles in that way, which works really well, especially if you do that at the end of your work. So you've cleaned out your skin, you've added your skin layer using the method that I showed in the previous video, and then go into Face App, add the freckles, go into Enhance Fox or Remimi, whatever it's called, and then run that over top of it, and it will pretty much pick up on those shades and the skin textures and the pre-existing freckles, and it will create more of a skin layer with more of the dirt on it as well. There we go. So you just sort of mess it up a little bit. Add little beauty spots, because the skin isn't perfect, and that's very, very important to remember. There's lots of layers and lots of mess. Just little ticks. Get that smoother line. There we go. Better. Much, much better. And come under. I need to warp both of these, because the existing layer above that is the hard tool, so we want to, on both, just push that up. It's an interesting mark we have coming through there. They can be a nightmare to find, because you've got to go through every layer to actually find it, to clean it up. So, make that black, that's clearly not on that layer. Go through and make some of the layers translucent. It might be on that layer. No, it's not on that one. Skin correction 2, it ain't on that layer. It's not on the clothing layer. It's not on that layer. Not on that layer. Okay, might actually be on the there we go, we're on here. Interesting, very, very interesting. Okay, since that's a translucent layer, I'm just going to push that up. There we go. That was when I was warping it. I warped it too far down to the other one. There we go. That's better. That's the only problem with having multiple layers. You can reduce multiple layers, of course. You can go through and highlight a whole heap of them, and just use the Control key, and then you can duplicate them and then just merge them, so there's one layer instead of having multiples, and then you can hide all the others. I kind of like having the redundancy, so I find the multiple layers is handy to have there. Okay, so lighter background works. I like that one better. Let's stay with that. There we go. So there's a couple more hints and tips, and I'll put up that metallic file, and you can download it and play with it and slap it into your patterns, and then you can have some golds and metallics to go through and play with your images.